everyone froze. We listened. We aimed the light there. The beam shook. And then we saw. Welcome back to the fire. Tonight's story was shared to me personally by someone I know. He asked if we can just call him John. It begins like this. The man by the culvert. This happened to me in the summer of 1986. I grew up in a small town in northern Minnesota. It was a quiet place surrounded by fields and trees. Back then, nights felt longer, and there wasn't much to do. That's how it started. Four friends looking for something to escape the boredom. Me and my friends live in a small town with one grocery store and 2 gas stations, with a few streets that went quiet after dark. Most nights there was nothing to do. I spent time with 3 friends, Eli, Mark, and Jamie. We were the kind of teens who stayed out late. We drove around because there was nowhere else to be. John is me. I try to think before I do things. Eli pushes everything too far and laughs at his own ideas. Mark acts in charge and hates backing down. Jamie hangs back and goes along because he does not want to be the one left out. Our nights were all the same. We met at the grocery store parking lot after it closed. We sat on the hood of the car and talked about nothing. We watched the same 2 patrol cars loop the same streets. When the clerk turned off the last light, we drove around the empty roads playing the same songs. We pulled into lots and left again. Normal small town stuff. One night around 4 a.m, we were half awake in the lot. The air was cold and the streets were empty. We were about to call it and go home. Then Eli said we should check out the big culvert out by the service road on the edge of town. He said some kids from another school had gone there once and heard something. Mark said we should go right then. Jamie said he did not want to go. It was almost morning and we were all tired. I said we should do it the next night, tomorrow after dinner when we were clear-headed. They agreed and that was the plan. The next day felt slow. I kept thinking about that culvert. It was the big one that runs under the road that leads to the old grain bins. The culvert had been built back in the 1950s. When they first paved that stretch of road, by then it was already stained and cracked, half buried in weeds. The ditch there is wider than the others. The concrete is old. The culvert opening is tall, enough for a person to crouch and move through. I had driven past it 100 times and never thought about going inside. We met at 7 that evening. There's still light in the sky, but fading. We grabbed a flashlight from the trunk and a cheap headlamp that barely held a charge. We took my car because it had the most gas. We drove out of town and turned onto the service road. Fields on both sides and a few stands of trees. One old barn. No houses close by. No other cars. When we reached the culvert, we pulled onto the shoulder and parked. There was no wind. The water in the ditch moved slow. The grass around the opening was flattened. There were beer cans and an old tire there. We stood by the car for a minute to see if anyone else was around. When everything was clear, we climbed down the slope. As we got closer, I saw a man across the road near the far side of the ditch. He was standing still. His head was bent a little. I raised my hand to point him out. When the others looked, he was gone. I scanned the ditch and the road. There was no one there. Eli laughed and said I was seeing things. Mark said I'm just trying to scare them. Jamie said he did not see anyone. I kept staring at the spot where I had seen him. I tried to explain what I saw. No one took it seriously. At the mouth of the culvert, there was a small bouquet lying on the concrete. The stems were wrapped in plastic. It looked fresh. It has no card, no ribbon, just flowers. Jamie said we should leave it alone. Eli stepped on it with his heel and twisted it into the grit. He smirked and asked if we were scared yet. I told him to knock it off. He shrugged. We turned on the flashlight and the headlamp and stepped inside. The sound changed right away. Water ran through the center channel. The floor had a strip of thin water. Down the middle and dry ledges on both sides. The ceiling was low, that we had to keep our heads down. The air smelled like wet concrete and old mud. There was a faint smell of something rotten deeper in. We moved slowly. Our shoes scraped. The light bounced on damp walls. The entrance behind us got smaller. We passed old graffiti, and some words scratched into the wall. We saw a pair of rusted nails stuck in a seam. We saw a dead raccoon against the side, half sunk. The smell got stronger. We covered our noses with our sleeves. After about 30 meters, the light from the entrance was gone. The flashlights and the headlamp was only our light now. The water sound was steady. Somewhere ahead of us, there was a hollow drip. It came and went. Our headlamp flickered. Mark told Eli to stop messing with it. Eli said he was not touching it. We found footprints in the wet strip that were not from us. They were older but clear. The footprints faced deeper inside and they were bare. We stopped and looked at each other. Mark said someone could have been here during the day. Did not explain the shape of them. The toes were wrong. They looked narrow and long. I did not want to talk about that. We kept going. None of us wanted to be the first one to quit. My heart was moving fast. I counted my steps to keep my head straight. 20 steps, then 20 more. The flashlight started to dim. I shook it and it brightened for a moment, and then dimmed again. We all knew we had to turn back soon or we would be in the dark. Then we heard a clear step on the dry ledge ahead. It was a single step, but it made all of us froze. We listened. Another step. It was slow, one foot and then the other. It came from the right side ahead. We aimed the light there, the beam shaking. We saw a man standing on the ledge about 10 meters away. He was turned toward the back of the culvert. He wasn't facing us, but I knew he knew we were there. He was thin with muddy clothes and he looked soaked. His arms were down at his sides. We could not see his face. The air suddenly felt colder. Mark said we should ask if he needed help. No one spoke. I tried to call out, but I was scared. The man did not react. He did not turn. He did not move at all. He just stood. We did not hear him breathing. We did not see the water change around his legs. Eli took a small step forward and the beam shook again. The man turned then. He turned slow until he faced us. We all saw it. His face was frightening. There There were no eyes where eyes should be. There were dark holes. His skin looked waterlogged and pale. There was no expression. His mouth opened, and water flowed out of it in a steady stream. The stream splashed against the ledge. The sound was loud. We all moved at once. We turned and shoved each other and started back toward the entrance. The light slipped in my hand and hit the floor and spun. Jamie pulled me forward. Eli shouted that he dropped the headlamp. Mark said to leave it and keep running. Behind us, we heard his steps following us. It's getting faster now. I did not turn, but Jamie did. I heard him gag and swear under his breath. He shouted, "Don't stop, keep running." We saw the light ahead. We were nearing the entrance. The steps behind us kept moving. Then it suddenly stopped. I thought he stopped chasing, but we heard a new sound. It was a slow scrape on the wall at shoulder height. It moved along the right side toward us. We saw a hand dragged across the concrete. We saw long marks appear in the damp. They were as high as the top of the wall. We burst out of the culvert and climbed the slope. We slid on the dirt and grabbed at the grass. When we reached the top, we ran to the car. I pulled the keys and dropped them. My hands were shaking. Mark snatched them and unlocked the car. We got in and slammed the doors. No one spoke, panic written on our faces. I turned the key and the engine did not start the first time. It caught on with the second turn. The headlights lit the culvert's entrance. In the beam, we saw a man standing just inside the mouth of the culvert. He was not moving. He was facing us again. We can clearly see him now. That was the first time I felt so frightened. His clothes were wet and torn. We saw him open his mouth like he was trying to scream. No sound came out, only water. Steady streams of mud spilling down his chest. The stream did not slow. It did not stop. I quickly put the car in gear and drove. We did not look back. We did not speak until we reached the first set of houses. Eli said he should not have stepped on the flowers. No one answered. I dropped them off one by one and went home. I sat in the car with the engine off and tried to slow my breathing. The next day, we met at the lot during daylight. No one wanted to talk first. We agreed to go back out there once more while the sun was up. We drove to the culvert. We parked on the shoulder again. The slope had our footprints from the night before. The flattened bouquet was still there. That there were new flowers on top of it. The plastic looks new, yet there was no note. We looked inside from the edge but did not go in. There were wet lines on the walls where he dragged his hand as he chased us. The lines were higher than any of us could reach without climbing. They ran along the right side and then down toward the water channel. There was a wet patch on the floor near the mouth where the water had pooled and drained. The headlamp we dropped was not there. We did not see the man again. Mark said we should tell someone. Jamie said no one would believe us. I said we should leave it alone. Eli nodded and did not make a joke. I had never seen him that quiet. We did not go out that night. We did not go out the next. A week passed. We met at Jamie's place. No one talked about the culvert. We stopped driving that service road and stuck to the main streets. When the lot closed at night, we went home early. We did not say why. One evening, I had to take that route because of a detour. I told myself not to stop, just keep driving. When I reached the culvert, I did not slow down. I glanced once and saw a man standing on the ledge inside the culvert. Even though I couldn't see his face, I knew it was him. I kept my eyes forward and drove until I reached the next town. After that, we made a rule. None of us would go near that culvert again. If a ride took us close, we turned around. If someone else wanted to see it, we told them to grow up and pick another spot to waste time. We did not give details. We did not want to hear ourselves say it out loud. Months later, I drove past in daylight. Someone had set a small white cross on the slope by the entrance. A few flowers were there too. The slope had new grass. The water in the ditch was low. The opening looked harmless. Then I kept going. This is the part people always press on. They ask what I think it was. I keep the answer simple. It was a man who got swept in that culvert and never got out. I think it was during a flood. Maybe he got stuck and ran out of air. I think the culvert keeps him in. And those flowers are from someone who still remembers him. I think the marks on the wall are his hand, pulling himself along the ledge again and again. There is nothing else to say. What matters is we went in and we saw him. We made it out and we do not go back because we never want to see him again. The man by the culvert.
Thanks for keeping me company tonight. The story sounds better, whispered by the fire, don't they? Until we meet again. This is
Whispers of the Scribe.
If you enjoyed tonight's story and would like to keep the fire burning, please support me by buying me a coffee. Every cup fuels me to keep whispering here by the fire. If you have a story of your own, something you've never told, something that still follows you at night, send it to me at whispersofthescribe@gmail.com. Maybe one day,
we'll whisper it here by the fire.